Next up is Elaine. She's the Agile Program Director at RBC, another RBCer. Hello. She also, okay, so I'm not going to say any of those things because I don't even know what they're about anymore. Sorry. But Elaine, if you could come up on stage, we'd really love to hear what you have to say today. Where is she? Oh, she's getting mic'd up.
Hello? Woohoo!
Run down!
This wasn't part of my plan.
I love it. This is so much energy.
Okay, thank you so much. I have a really bad habit of eating the mic, so I've upgraded here. Thank you, Anita, for the warm welcome, and good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm very excited to share with you my story. I'm hoping I remember it. All right, so my story is very ordinary, in fact, or at least I like to think it is. But what I'm hoping to share with you is what might come across as relatable. I'm career-oriented, as all of you are. We're here tonight, we're not home watching Netflix. We're here because we want to network, or because we want to feel inspired from somebody else's story. Which, by the way, who put me after the last speaker? She was just so good, right? But yeah, so I'm career-oriented, I'm a professional. I'm also a mother. Brought my beautiful daughter, Marley, who's in the front. Woo! I'm a wife. My husband is home with my son, who had zero interest. And yeah, I'm a student, and I'm much more. But with all these things, I'm constantly juggling the priorities of life. And things don't always shift in the way that I need them to shift for that balance. However, with motherhood, I've been able to, in all of that chaos, still drive my career in the direction that I wanted, okay? In fact, so much so that I've exceeded my own expectations. I have been able to create my own version of what success looks like. I'm going to share that with you tonight. And my hope is that I'm able to inspire you to walk away and create your own definition of what success looks like for you. God, I love the way my shoulders go back for that one. Let me tell you a little bit about me and what my career looked like. For 25 years, I've worked in operations and technology. And it's quite by fluke or by luck that many people think I landed into this. But really, it's being in the right place at the right time. So 25 years ago, I joined a temp relief agency. I went on an afternoon assignment at the end of the Downsview subway station, okay? At the end of the road at the end of that Downsview subway station. Why did I get this gig? Mostly because I'm certain nobody else in the city wanted it, right? But when I got there, it was the golden opportunity of a lifetime. It was the back office overflow for one of the 5 major banks. Not the one I'm working for today, but one of the 5. And I dug in like nobody's business. I was only 18 years old, and this was my ticket. I really, really applied myself to what they wanted me to do. I'd love to tell you it was behind the computer like everybody else. Everybody was so excited to have computers back then. No, I was still working with the paper. I was doing what nobody else wanted to do. But within a few months, I was hired full-time. And over the next 10 years, I was able to go through each and every role in that back office. I moved from all of those positions. In fact, my favorite position, I think, of my entire career was once I mastered all of those roles, I got the opportunity to rotate. So people would go on vacation, I would do everybody's position. I was a servant leader back then, and I didn't even realize it, okay? I moved into the supervisor role, and naturally the manager. Eventually, I outgrew the operations group, and I decided I wanted a role. I wanted to be in project management. So at that time, I applied myself, and I went to Centennial College in the evening. It took me 3 years. It's quite funny because I went to Centennial College for 3 years to do project management, and everybody else went and did this certification, the PMP. I did not know that's all I really needed, but boy, was I ready, and was I proud. So 10 years into this, I now had my education and I had my work experience. And when I put those two things together, it was a huge endorsement on myself. And I was so ready to accelerate my career at that point. Around the same time, there was another major milestone in my life. My husband and I started a family. We had one child, and then we had our second child, Marley. And I cannot tell you how difficult it was for me to look at my life and try and figure out, what did I want to be? Did I want to go after this huge priority of this ideal family that I wanted to have? Or did I want to continue growing my career with my newfound education and upskilling? And I realized I had picked the right partner, and he was able to get behind me, and I could have both. And that was quite incredible. But I did have to redefine what my version of success looked like. So I'm going to share with you, I think it's 4 key lessons. And the interesting part about when you start to categorize and bucket things and you want to tell your story about like an experience that matches up to some cliche thing, I literally could search every meme on the internet, and I have a story that I could tackle attached to each of those. But what's interesting is which was the most meaningful to share with you tonight. All right, so I'm going to try, that was my presentation, by the way, guys. If we can get it back up, I'd love it. The first one I'm going to share with you is don't miss the opportunities to shine. I can guarantee you 100% I would not be on this stage tonight if I hadn't met Jules back in the fall. It's a bit of a side initiative that I'm going to talk a bit later on, I think in number 4, number 5 bullets here. But Jules, we were running this initiative, and we really wanted someone to come in very powerful in our organization and give us sponsorship and really put our initiative on the map. And we reached out to Jules to come in and do that, and she came in. She was brilliant, as she was here tonight to kick us off. So not only did we succeed in getting the excitement around that initiative, I put myself on the map. I'm the person she called tonight, and I couldn't be happier. Okay, so that's all about, you know, I loved when you were speaking about, I'm not going to say her name because I'll mess it up too, but I loved when our last speaker was up and talked about state your intentions and use your voice. I recently just started working at, I've been in tech infrastructure for the last 6 years, a different variety of roles, and most recently they had this position posted for Agile adoption. Okay, so they drive the Agile adoption for 2,000 people in tech infrastructure. And I've been doing Agile adoption across the next generation. Yeah! Oh, I love it, I love it. Okay, this is awesome. Watch now, this is going to mess me up. Okay, so yeah, so the point of the don't wait for a chance to shine was this posting went up. I wasn't getting a call to come in for an interview about it, but I did see our SVP in the elevator, and I was sure to tell him that I had just upskilled myself, and I was certain that I had what he needed to drive that new collaboration across the pillars within tech infrastructure. So that was in January. After a few more conversations, the recruitment called me in, and I went to see my VP, a few negotiations, and voila. Last week, I was appointed to be the director of Agile adoption for tech infrastructure, right? A final point on that, and it's, you didn't expect me not to give a statistic here, right? So men, I'm so happy to see so many of them in the audience tonight as well, but men apply for roles that they're 60% qualified for, right? And it said that women apply for those very same roles when they're 100% qualified. So ladies, we gotta bet bigger on ourselves. We gotta go big. We already know those roles that we have 100% on. We can do the one that we have 60% on. And you know why? Because you have an army of women and men behind you that are gonna teach you that other 40%. And you're gonna be really inspired to do that. Okay. My second key learning was change is constant. I talked about moving into Agile adoption. I'm very much a traditional project manager. I talked earlier about how I had gone to school and I got my accreditation on that. And I mean, it was up here on how to do that waterfall traditional project management. But change was upon us, and I had to have a beginner's mindset. I had to be willing in the face of change to realize that I could be recoached, that I needed to be a beginner again. I was willing to let someone tell me and to come in and help me rethink how we did things. And so the key to that is, just because you're the master doesn't mean that you can't relearn it and do it better, all right? Change is constant. I think I have one more point, because I'm going to give Marley as many as I can tonight. Parenthood has taught me the biggest thing about change. Before I had my family, I was able to work 70 hours a week, and I could perfect things. Drove my husband nuts. I would write emails, and then I would rewrite them. Then I would read it to him, and then I might send it or rewrite it again. But I had my family, and I had to really prioritize what was important at work. So some things I just don't actually get to, and I love that part of my job, but, prioritizing some things we just don't need to be doing. And my schedule is very non-traditional. I get up in the morning at 5 a.m. I'm checking my emails. I'm sending them out at 6 a.m. because that's when VPs do it. And I'm also pausing. I'm having breakfast with my daughter and my son, and I'm dropping them to school, and that's so meaningful to me. Then I hit the DVP, and I'm sneaking in at 10:15. I do core meetings, and I drive home, and I wrap up, and I debrief, and I'm able to contribute. Nobody's looking at when I'm in the office, because I'm delivering the value that they need me to deliver in my role. My third key learning that I wanted to share with you tonight is that growth is uncomfortable. All right? I'm going to use public speaking as my example of how uncomfortable it is. I was petrified to publicly speak, like seriously petrified. When I was in my 20s, I didn't use my voice at all. It killed me in relationships, and I was in one for 5 years, too long. And but anyway, what I learned was I was doing a disservice to myself and the people around me. I had a lot of value to add to the contribution of a discussion, but I just wasn't saying it. I thought, well, what's the point, right? Eventually, I got the courage to start sharing my ideas and my thoughts in team meetings. And then I upscaled a little bit on that, and I spoke in larger meetings. Maybe I asked a question at a town hall. I was testing myself out there. But I will never forget Donna was with me at this company. I'll never forget the first time I was invited to the boardroom with our president at the time. It was a smaller company, but nonetheless, I went into that boardroom, and we had brought in a whole team. They were an external ISO. Anyway, I won't get into what that is, but they were an external company, and there was 5 or 6 individuals from this company, and everybody was so smartly dressed and so well-spoken. And here I was standing in there, and I had content to share. My voice betrayed me like nobody's business. My face was flush. I really just wanted to run back to the bathroom and hide. It was just so overwhelming. But the moral of the story is we landed the deal, and none of them remember how I felt that day, but I do, right? But we landed the deal, and what I had to contribute verbally was so important, it contributed to us landing that deal. Fast forward, I've done a lot of town halls since. I do master of ceremonies, which is a lot of fun, right? I've done, what else have I done? Fireside chats. And tonight, you're all part of, a memory for me. This is the largest group I've spoken to. Woo! My first speaking engagement. It's on my vision board, so thank you for being part of that. Final point on the key learnings is identify your strength. I've been told so many times that now I believe it, that one of my strengths is the ability to influence. Influence, I kind of looked up what the definition is, and it's to have an important impact on someone or something. And I've been gifted with this great ability to walk into the room, and not everybody quite knows that I have this ability, so it's like a hidden weapon. But I can walk into a room, and I can kind of read the body language, I can hear the discussion, and I can start to really understand what it is that people need or what they might need to bridge those conversations or help them get there. Sometimes you're able to have that influence in the first meeting, or maybe sometimes it takes a year to influence a group on something. but I'm really tuned into what people need and serving people, and my influence is a good example of my strength. I'm gonna go back to the point earlier of how I met Jules back in the fall, and that was at a kids coding camp at Catalyst. So Catalyst is an RBC, I love the RBC, your head nods in here. It's an RBC or a tech event where I think we have about 3,000 employees that join. And I thought, I'm not the most innovative, I'm certainly not, but I'm smart enough to put two really good things together and take credit for it. So, we had the kids coding camp, digital literacy, and we had this tech event, and we put the two of those together, me and another peer, we partnered, we put together a committee of people that were like, I have to tell you, there were a lot of people in our organization that just said, do not do it. You cannot bring children age 8 to 12 into our organization for a day. And I was like, I don't know, we bring grade 9s in. These guys seem like they would be easier to deal with, right? So anyway, we brought that in and we put that together, but we had zero authority to do this. The outcome was that we did accomplish that. We brought in, the children brought in 30 RBC children. They were, it was a complete gender balance in the room. We had 50% volunteers and students that identified with being she or he. So we were trying to project the future, and it went off fabulously, and that's identifying your strength to be influential. So, you know, how do you stay focused when you're trying to figure out what your strengths are? You know what they are, and you want to put together a vision board. I have a 5-year vision board. Everybody's frequency might be different on that, but it's important to identify a clear vision, to map it out, to visit it often. You're going to have iterations. Your vision might not largely change. Hopefully, you have a vision and you're going after it. You change it too much, you're just going to get lost along the way, right? But if you map it out, you can accomplish it. Everyone is different. For me, you've heard my story mostly here tonight. It was to grow my career, to be the best mother, to be passionate in my mentorship. So tonight's a good example of sharing my story to hopefully inspire the next generation of women in technology that you are just as capable of doing what I've been able to accomplish in a quarter of a century. And to check that vision board regularly and often, okay? Every decision we make, every day, every month, every year, it should align us to the vision board so that we're getting closer and closer to what it is we want to accomplish for ourselves. I'm going to conclude now. The takeaways are in the deck. Nobody wants me to repeat those. And I really wanted to do a shout out to Vanessa Bennett. Did I get her name right? Yes. She has been absolutely fantastic in helping me package my story. We had a lot of fun earlier this week when I was trying to describe everything I had done, and she said, well, you know, you don't want your story to sound like throw up. So we tied it all together, and we decided what the points should be, and I think I did a very good job of representing what we agreed on. I also have mentioned my daughter Marley, and she's here with my beautiful friend Donna, who also has a tech career. So thank you so much for accompanying Marley and being with me tonight.